We'll have you back. The Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria says only 3 of Nigeria's 22 international and domestic airports are profitable. Managing Director of FAAN, Olubunmi Kuku, disclosed this in an interview earlier this week. Kuku said 19 of the nation's airports are being subsidized as they do not get passenger traffic commensurate with their operational cost. She said the majority of the 22 airports managed by FAAN required an upgrade of critical infrastructure, the terminal areas, the land side, as well as the air side. The FAAN boss said many of the runways at the airports in the country have exceeded the 20-year validity period and were due for an upgrade, noting that the airport authority would focus on some of these developmental goals, this year. According to her, economic activities in states where airports are built drive passenger traffic and not the construction of the new airports. Let's talk more about this. I introduced him earlier. Mr. Olumide Ohunayo is an aviation analyst and the General Secretary of Aviation Roundtable. Good afternoon and thank you for being on the program.
Thank you for having me on this Friday.
Yes, only 3 out of 22. That's heavy for me. 3 out of 22. How does this come to you? What do you understand by this? Others are subsidized.
I hope you noticed that the MD used the word managed. Yes, sir. So managed there means that almost all of these airports were not built by FAAN.
Okay.
But were built by some state governments, and when they were choked up with the cost of running and maintaining such airports, they used whatever state government was in place to hand over those airports to the federal government. And why do they hand it over? Because it's FAAN that provides security and other services. NAM also provides services at this airport, and where they're coming from, name it, all federal agencies who charges these airports, and then these airports at the end of the day will not be able to maintain the operations vis-a-vis the cost of paying for all these services. You see that they end up surrendering these airports to the federal government to manage and own. So, and that has been the case, and that's why you say the FAAN is saying we now have 22. We have such airports like the Owerri Airport, Bauchi, Gombe, the one built in Yobe State, and some other airports like that are just being handed over to the federal government.
Okay, so that's really the case. But what more can the states themselves do to make sure that this becomes profitable? Some were talking about cargo, the ones that have agricultural produce and all of that. What other options do they have?
You see, the aviation is still on the federal government list. What the states can do is they can only, under the act, is that they can build airports, cargo airports. That's only airport the states are allowed to build. And that's why they all build a normal passenger airport, but comply with the law by naming that airport cargo airport without necessarily having any cargo facility or any cargo plan in their master plan. All they want is to have an airport in their state capital to bring in their people, to bring in businessmen, to bring investors and tourists. But you see, because the rule says it must be a cargo airport, they name it a cargo airport without necessarily having anything to do with cargo or facilities, facilitation, and makes it a cargo airport per se. So that has been a problem, and that's why we found ourselves with FAAN now having 22, and only 3 are profitable. And out of these 3, the 3 are the major ones: the Lagos, Abuja, and Kano. Yeah. So those are the 3 airports at the moment. Port Harcourt can be profitable.
Yeah.
What I just noticed was there was that political problem during the time of Amidst, and that problem got a very bad slap on the Port Harcourt airport itself. It was once named the worst international airport in the world because of the political problem between the PDP and APC when Amidst was there, and that led to a lot of issues, and the Port Harcourt airport slid down the ladder. But I think they're trying to get their act together now and get back onto the stream now.
NCA is also coming out hard these days. We saw what happened a few weeks ago. 10 private jet owners sanctioned, I think, for recertification and all of that. Why do people want to operate this kind of business and not follow due process? I tend to wonder.
Well, Nigeria is not a peculiar problem to Nigeria, and I would not want us to see it as Nigeria.
It's not a Nigerian problem.
It's a Nigerian problem. Well, if you know Emiliano Sala, the footballer that was going to report in Cardiff from his club in France, who died in that private jet aircraft that was taking him there. It was a rogue operation. And then this rogue operation is something the industry worldwide have been fighting. But the only thing you can say about us is that we were slow to the party. But now that we have gone to the party of ensuring that our regulations, our rules are sacrosanct and they work in tandem with the weather rules, including the customs, then I can say yes. We have decided to make break even and ensure we do what is right. You see, the non-commercial operators and as the private ones and non-scheduled operators are supposed to be the oil engine of the civil aviation industry. They are supposed to feed it well because it's an inelastic demand, and they're supposed to oil the industry by generating revenue and helping the industry to contribute more to the GDP as aviation's contributions to the GDP. But when the regulations are lax, when you do not hold them by the balls, when you do not allow your regulations to be followed to the letter, then you have what happened. Look at what happened. The operators were supposed to bring in, for those who have the temporary import permit, were supposed to bring those aircraft in for about maximum of 2 years.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, you take it out of the country, or you deregister that aircraft, make it a Nigerian registered aircraft, and pay all the necessary taxes and charges and duties on it. But because of that temporary waiver, aircraft that was supposed to spend 2 years, we're going to 6, 7, 8 years. And if you remember, there was a time we were looking at Nigeria where we had more private jets than even scheduled operators. And that was the misnomer, that in a country where you say people are struggling, the economy is not good, then you're having more private jets than the scheduled operators. And you will have that there was something wrong in the system that they were capitalizing on. And if you look at the list that was brought out, none of them is traced to any individual. You know that this situation, they are all registered, are all attached to a company outside Nigeria as being the owner of those aircrafts. And the customs asked all of them now to bring a temporary import permit, their customs waiver, taxes paid since they started operation in Nigeria, their NCA license and approval, operating certificate. They've asked them, and you know the interesting thing. Apart from those who have been suspended, we have more of them now accepting to take the aircraft out of Nigeria rather than continue to operate in Nigeria. Yeah. And you know what you have lost? Some of those aircraft that were foreign registered also had to come with foreign crew and engineers, because for those no
job opportunity.
Yeah, exactly, and they would have to be paid in dollars, because when you have for some of the aircraft, some of the countries they're coming from, only professionals, pilots, engineers licensed by their own regulatory authority is allowed to operate, or a sister agency, not by the NCA. So they would have to bring crew, both pilot and crew, to Nigeria, pay salaries along that line, and leave our own players out of the market, outside there looking for jobs. We woke up too late to that process. I know customs started 2 years ago. Somewhere along the line, you know, when you deal with billionaires, you must have the balls to continue. I think Ahmed Ali was pushed aside a bit, but then now the president government said, no, we're not going to be pushed aside. We're going to go after you guys. You must pay whatever you need to pay to the relevant agencies. Yeah. You must pay the customs duty, and that's what is happening now. Most of the banks have it, and most of them are also all violators. But those who have been asked to come and pay have started paying, and that's the good thing. In the past, there about 18 of them went to court, but now they are withdrawing their cases from court and trying to comply with the rules of the industry.
So what would you say about standards since Mr. Keyamo took over office? There's been a lot of talks, a lot of actions we've seen. What's your assessment so far? Where are we with regards to... Yes, I know there are a lot of issues. I agree with that, but maybe anything significant that really you see?
I think we started with the airports, and the MD has come out to say there are 3 airports that are viable. Yes, we cannot, and as the situation is at the moment, we are a bit stagnant in the industry. The tickets fare are jacking up right now, and the passengers are getting stranded. Whether the flights are either cancelled or delayed, and the passengers are not increasing. But what is not matching the passengers are not increasing is the capacity made available for the existing passengers to fly with. The existing passengers that the security misfortune of the country has brought to air transport now because of what is happening with kidnapping on the roads. We have not been able to capture and make use of this advantage because of the capacity problem in the industry. Capacity here is the aircraft available by the operators. Since the suspension of Dana and the forex issues, most of the airlines have not been able to take the aircraft for maintenance or return those that are outside there to call for maintenance. And those who have 1 or 2 aircraft don't have the funds to send some of their pilots who are supposed to go for such training, because Forex is not available. So that's that gloss we're having, that's the issue we're having, and that has made the fare to jack up. But coming to the airports themselves, we don't have to look far. MMA2 by Courtney is right inside Nigeria.
Yes.
They have ticked all the dots on both aeronautical revenue and non-revenue on how to manage airport terminals. They have won the award consistently in the last 6-7 years. So if we have one in,
yes,
it shows it's possible if government begin to take their hands away from some of the things that they are participating in the resources and just restrict themselves to regulation, monitoring, and compliance.
The issue of aviation fuel, Forex, and all of that has been on the front burner. We have overflogged some of these issues, but they still seem to be around us. Looking at the last meeting, I heard the aviation for local airlines are projecting 980 naira per litre. They had a meeting with Africa's richest man, Dangote, and to talk about this. Do you also think that refinery can help address some of these challenges with regards to aviation?
Well, you just finished discussing the oil and gas on the first segment of your program. And I think the meeting with Dangote is a good one. Yeah. What we want to see now is how we can allow some liberalization in the oil and gas industry. Mm-hmm. The NNPC is selling crude oil to outsiders. The independent oil companies are selling to outsiders. In NNPC, you have about 60%. If you have about 60%, why should Dangote and other private refineries in Nigeria be having problem getting the crude oil? Crude oil. And if you're not going to sell to them, then you allow them to import. The same thing with the other oil marketers. You have left the regulation now. You're not participating in selling petrol in all filling stations. Yes, you'll be the one that will not supply to the other marketers. How would we not have issues? So actually liberalizing it will also help the aviation industry. I'm happy that Dangote has started with the aviation fuel. He has been able to bring it down from over 1,000 to about 980. I am sure if all the modular refineries that are still bound are allowed to get and they start producing more with aviation fuel, it will come down. You see, it's when we begin to produce internally that this fuel issue and its cost component on the aviation operations can come down. And I hopefully think this will come down if we allow the other refineries to participate.
So what will be your outlook for the industry despite all the odds? I always like to have an outlook so that we work towards that.
Before you let me go.
Yes, if I let you.
But sincerely, looks positive. Looks positive. Nigerians have resumed their traveling. We still have people willing to travel. People willing to travel in spite of all that is the industry. And because of the insecurity, the industry is having more demand than it can meet. But then it's time for us to meet with this demand by making our flights go on schedule, by not cancelling our flight and making it cheaper. But the only way you can do that is what we have just pushed towards the regulator from our organization. We have asked them to license a new set of operators. They should not have the same. They should not be in the same box with the present set of operators, because these ones are going to bring in smaller aircrafts that can run those small airports. One of those airports that have been listed as unviable. They'll be able to run those airports without coming to Lagos, Port Harcourt, or Abuja. They can do Benin, Owerri. They can do Owerri, Port Harcourt. They can do any Owerri with the smaller aircraft. Smaller aircraft. So but for those aircraft kind of group of investors to come in, they cannot be put in the same box. And given that strenuous regulations of both funding and financing as it's been done with the present operators. And that's why I said, look at a country like the US. If we can pick their presidential system, we can also pick some other parts. And one of those things is they have a Part 135 that takes care of such commuters with lower regulatory burden compared to the Part 121 operators who are scheduled operators. And that's what we're saying now. But we need to license a new set of operators so we can improve on connections, we can improve use of the airport, we can have more pilots, we can have more engineers, we can employ more Nigerians into the job, and we'll have more usage of our Nigerian airspace. And once you have all this in place, all the agencies, taxes, charges will automatically increase. Fares will drop, more flights will come in, and Nigerians will be able to fly easily and quickly across the country without paying.
looks very and sounds very good. I must thank you so much for your time. It's always interesting having you on the program. Mr. Olumide Ohunayo is the General Secretary of the Aviation Roundtable. He's also an aviation analyst. Thank you so much and have a great
I hope you leave me now.
Yes, I will let you go now. Thank you so much.